We should be better now. All right, there we are. All right, let's give everybody a chance to come back if they want to. All right, there we are. Let's see who is putting up with my nonsense today. There's Storm Spotter Hannah. Thank you for being here. Joe, Woodchucker, Black Widow, Ray and Sandy, Baby Kisses, Mike Stanifer, Dad's here. All right, Plywood's here. Hey, buddy. All right. I've got this where I can actually see the chat now. I'm signed in through my wife's account on a different thing. It still wouldn't let me see it like normal. So anyway, here's what we're going to work on today. I made this lamp out of a pine knot. I don't know if anybody, well, I mean, I know a few of you got a chance to see it. And I'll show it to you here. I made this out of just an old pine knot. And all I did was hollow it out and took apart an old candle melter, like a candle warmer thing that had a halogen bulb and stuff in it. So I do need to change the bulb. I need to put an LED bulb in it because that could potentially be a fire hazard. But I think it looks really cool. And I didn't do much of anything except for clean it up. It was already started. It had already started going hollow in the middle. So all I did was just finish it out, got rid of the rotten part, got down to the good wood. But anyway, I was impressed with it. So I thought I would try to make a little succulent holder to match it out of another pine knot that I have. It's a little bigger. This is what it starts out looking like. I don't know if you guys can see down in there. There we go. And this one did have a third piece on it, but it was just barely attached. And the rest of the middle of it was rotten like this is still. I haven't quite got it cleaned all the way off yet, but it snapped off. There was three, and it was kind of laying like that, and there was a third one that shifted off to this side. So after it snapped off, what I did, I was going to leave it laying down and plant succulents in it like that and let them just be growing out, but I cut the bottom off flat. It's nice and solid through there. It's not rotten all the way through. But so it'll stand up now. I guess you can't really see it so much. It'll sit up, and I thought maybe, along with the lamp, it would make a nice little tabletop set. So that's what we're going for with it. But they're all just like crusty and gross on the outside, but once you get down through that, it reveals all that beautiful grain and color. I like playing with the pine knots. They are very sticky, and it will cause your Dremel, your flex shaft, to get gummed up. So chances are we're going to end up taking this hand piece apart just to get this out before it's over with. I guess it's just got to do with the resin in it. But so we're going to turn on all this loud stuff. Y'all might want to turn your volume down. Thanks for being here. Well, I didn't see Rusty sneak in. Thanks for coming, Rusty. Oh, there's Baby Kisses. I didn't see her either, I don't think. Hello, Baby Kisses. Oh, and I see North Garvin. Hey, buddy. Michael S., Amy Joe. sounds like a problem. Find out what's happening here. Sorry about that. We'll get it together eventually. Boy, that dust. All right, we'll try this again. I'm gonna change it up to a cut saw and see if I can get over some of these humps a little better. Thank you for being here, Bear. Michael S., I might have said hello to you already. If not, hello. Deland, thank you, buddy. I'm gonna go back up the comments a bit and see if I've missed who I've missed. I see people saying hello to Night Owl. There he is. Aiden, thank you, buddy, for joining in. This stuff is super sticky, and we haven't even got to the sticky part yet. That's just the surface. But you'll see it change colors. And when it goes like all yellow, real wet looking almost, that's what I'm talking about. The stuff gets all down in the flex shaft. You end up having to take the thing apart. It's kind of a pain. John's here. Hello, John. Pretty sure I said hello to Amy Joe and Baby Kisses. Hello. All right. I'm going to turn all this stuff back on. That flex shaft already sounds weird. I think it's probably because of all that pine resin from the lamp. Need to take it apart and clean it out with some, I don't know, some kind of acetone or something. All right, here we go. Not yet. Somebody saying hello to Spike. Hello, Spike. Thanks for being here, buddy. All right, now we can go. Man, that sounds terrible. Uh-oh. I might be stuck already. All right. All right. I knew this was going to happen. Let me grab my screwdriver. All right, I guess I can talk to everybody while we do this. What's everybody been up to today? This happens entirely too much. But it don't take long anymore to take it apart. Yep, I saw Deland painting some flags earlier. Those things look really good, man. I've always liked those wooden flags, even before I got into trying to do wood carvings and things. Just always thought they looked really cool. All right, in case anyone's never seen the inside of one of these before, here you go. You see, this, I think this is the real problem for what I have happening with it getting stuck. All right, you don't ever want to lose any of those pieces. It's all very important. I don't know if you can see it, but right there, that's the little button on the outside that you push to lock it in place. It slips into that hole right there. So you can change your bit burrs out. But you see how mine is getting warm? And it's got like a, I think that's the real problem. It's probably going to break before too much longer. I'm going to have to replace it. But once you get it out, generally it comes right off. It's going to make me out to be a liar today, probably. It came right off. I don't know why it does that. But anyway, so reassembling it's pretty simple. Just line your hole up with the button there. Oh, you definitely want this piece. That's important. That just fell out. It just kind of keeps it lined up, I guess. And this piece sits in that little saddle right there behind it. And it all slides right back up in there. Oh, you know what? I'm about to make a mess. Well, it doesn't matter. I got it loose now. I'll put that on later. It's important to line up those little divots. There's some little tabs in there. I mean, I guess it could squish in a different place. Get it in there. I usually put that spring on first just to kind of hold it in place so I can let go. But I think that cuts-all burr is working a lot better than that Dremel cutter burr, at least for now. It's getting it off a lot faster anyway. We may not finish the whole thing on the live because it takes a while to do that. But we'll go for a while anyway. See how far along we can get it. Yeah, I got another one, Aiden. What I was thinking I ought to do. I've got one that's almost brand new. It's on my other rotary tool that I use for sanding. And I just never ever take it off, you know. I probably should just swap the two flex shafts out. Since the one on the carving one gets used a lot more than the sanding one most of the time. That would be the smart thing to do. All right, I lost my little washer. Where'd it go? Now I'm dropping everything. Jeez, man, what's going on here? All right, gotta take this off. Put that back on there. Hey, there's Mr. Roy. Hey, buddy. Thank you for coming. I'm just wasting everybody's time here. I'm going to switch it over to the flame burr. It's a little bit smaller than that sphere burr. Might fit down those grooves a little better. And I've just barely tightened it on my hand, but before you know it, We're gonna have to take it apart again and get it loose. All right, here we go. All right, my hand's starting to go to sleep. It's time to take a break, and I should probably put this piece back on the Dremel. I think I saw Baby Kisses asking what it was. That is that washer I just lost when I had to take the Dremel apart a minute ago. I'm glad I didn't sweep it off the table. So we'll let the carving wizard hold that for a minute. Hey, there's Matt. I guess I'll go ahead and confess my sins, Matt. I had to take my handpiece apart and I forgot to put the washer back on the front, and I just kept carving. Might have to take it apart again. It's this wood. It's so sticky. Maybe not. I got lucky that time. See all that stuff that gets in there? And really, we haven't even got down to the sticky part yet. Michael says, tell everyone what you're making. No, I'm glad I didn't lose it, Matt. I will tell everyone what I'm making, Michael. I know a lot of people saw it. I made a lamp out of a pine knot. Now I'm trying to put it on backwards. And now I'm making what I'm going to try to make is a little succulent holder to match it. And I'll show you the lamp for those that have missed it. Stuff stuck all over that. That's the bad part about the pine knots. See, it's coming all the way loose, but the springs aren't retracting. It's just how sticky that stuff is. Take it apart and clean it really good. All right, got the washer back on. Got the bit burr back in place. All right, so here's my lamp. This was a pine knot that had started going hollow in the middle already, just like these. It looked just like this when we started with it. It's quite a difference. I guess this would be before, during, and then after. Now I took apart a old candle warmer thing and just put these pieces together. It does in fact work. It's got a little dimmer on it. But I just thought it looked really cool. The pine knots really don't take like a whole lot of, I mean, I didn't really carve any of this into it. It's just the way it was. I was just kind of following the lines of the natural knot, sort of like I was doing with this one, just leaving whatever pieces on it. And as much as I had to sand on it was just like a 80 grit. I guess it's something about that resin. It just buffs it out really smooth. That's in it. What I used to polish it up with was just like a brass type brush for the Dremel. And then after I got done, after I did the 80 grit, I went over it with this to help knock off, because when you sand on it with sandpaper, it leaves like a film over it. And I guess it's just the oil from the pine. Anyway, I kind of used this to knock it off, and then I went back over with this, I guess it's just nylon brush, just to kind of smooth it out just a little bit more. I mean, it didn't really scratch it. That brass brush didn't. I was surprised. The brass brush did not. There's Woodchucker. Hey, buddy. But and then I just shot it with some lacquer thinner to seal it. I mean, I didn't really do a whole lot to it, really, other than just clean it up and just knock all this yuck off the outside of it and keep whatever pieces are still solid, and then it's just going to naturally look like that. So anyway, I'm going to get back to carving on it, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll turn out as nice as the other one. But what I'm going to do with this one, instead of making a lamp, I don't think I said, I'm going to pop some holes and stuff in it wherever the spots look nice, and then obviously in the top, and plant succulents in it to go with the lamp that I made. So that's what the plan is here. Back to it. Hey Carl, thank you for coming. See you later, Matt. Carl has the cutest little dog named Peanut. You guys should subscribe to him and check out that dog. Oh my goodness. That stuff is a lot harder than you might expect on the outside. I'll tell you what, when you get down through all that, it's all dry. That's like, I don't know. I don't think it's petrified. I wouldn't call it that. But once you get through it, it gets really soft. Once you get down there where it's real light colored, and especially from the inside. Maybe we'll do that in a minute after we're done with this little break. I'll show you how easy it is to hollow out the inside. You can basically just drop flex chef down in there. If it wasn't for all the jumping around it would do, you just drop it down in there by itself. But don't know. I like working with them. They're just sticky. But I guess that's not the only kind of wood that's like that. Sometimes cedar can get like that with if it still has the bark on it. I've noticed that a lot with some cedar saplings and things. You go skinning them off. Next thing you know, you're covered in that resin. I was watching. I didn't get to see Matt's live from last night, but I was watching it, rewatching it earlier, and he was talking about when I was trying to send him some stuff, and I was trying to send him a couple of these and a few hunks of really like dark red, almost purple cedar that I had. Gonna, I suggested in the package that he just, play with pine knots, do whatever. But I thought the red cedar would have made some nice jewelry. I know he likes to make jewelry, but that's what he was talking about when he said the stuff got turned away. I'd sent a carving that I did for him too. They wouldn't let him have any of it. I tried. Well, I didn't try. I asked Matt if he could ask them if he could just have the carving out of it, and they just destroyed the wood pieces, but they wouldn't go for that either. So they just sent it all back to me. But he didn't get to keep it. I saw Carl was asking about succulent holders or what it was. Did somebody answer that question for him? I hope so. I'll show you what this is going to look like when I get finished, Carl. This is a lamp I made out of the same type of piece of wood. It's just got a little light bulb in it. But that's what this will look like eventually. And I think I saw somebody asking where I find these things at. And just out in the woods, man. Wherever you see dead pine trees laying on the ground, you can probably find these. But they don't look like this. You're looking for something real gnarly. If you didn't know what it was, you'd walk by it and just think it was a piece of rotten wood. But a lot of time, I say a lot of times, I've never found a whole lot of them that were large like this one. And this one, like I said, it had a third one on it, but it snapped off because it was just barely attached. I think it was just like those 2 points right there where it was really actually still making contact, and all the rest through the middle was rotten, like some of this is. But generally, when I find them, they're more like this. That's more the size that I typically find when I go out. But they're just laying on the ground, usually around a bunch of fallen pine trees. They look a lot like birds to me. Maybe with its wings wrapped in front of it. Like it's, you can see all kinds of things. They kind of look like seashells too, or even fish. I did find this one. This one was a lot like the one we're working with now, except it was a lot smaller. And it hasn't quite hollowed out. The ones that hollow out like that are usually pointing up toward the sky like this, and I guess it's the sun and the rain and stuff. But they're so full of pine resin that, they'll be there forever. Who knows how long this stuff was laying around before I found it. But that's what they look like on the outside. But take a little TLC to them. They sure are pretty. In my opinion, I don't try to really carve too much. I know Creation Dust finds them, and he likes to carve faces and stuff in them. But I'm not a great face carver, so I don't, if I set out to carve a face, it's usually on a scrap piece of wood most of the time, because I'm pretty sure I'll ruin it. But that's all it is. It's just out of it. It's a piece of yellow pine, and it's probably where the branch was growing out of the tree like this. Like if my arm was the trunk of the tree, that's probably about, where it was splitting off, or some other limb. And eventually, when the tree snaps and the limb falls, it lays there and rots. You get that out of it. I think I did one that I turned into a little Christmas ornament in the carving wizard. He won it. He's in here somewhere. But they are fun to work with. I've tried to carve a face into one of them before on a live. Some of you guys were probably there, and it was just a big old fail. But like I said, I'm definitely not a face carver. I'll leave that to you guys. But so yeah, that's what we're gonna do with this car. We're gonna just keep on cleaning it up and get it polished up, and we're gonna cut some holes in it, like through the sides and stuff, into the void, and we'll put dirt in it, and then you plant those little like they were saying. I think somebody said it was similar to a cactus, but without the stickers on it. And they don't require much of any care. Succulents kind of just do their own thing for the most part, from what I understand. And so it's a good indoor plant. And if we, I guess, I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me, because this is a question I asked my wife. But if I spray this with some kind of lacquer, that's not going to, would that harm the plant? Because I want to put it on the inside, so any additional moisture from somebody using it wouldn't continue to rot it. So I feel like it needs to be sealed up on the inside. I don't know. I'm not much of a gardener or a plant keeper or anything like that. I just thought it'd be a neat thing to match the lamp. You can see how sticky that stuff is. It just stays to the outside of it. Carl says he don't think it will harm the plant. You can believe Carl. He's a scientist. And I'm not joking. Peanut's so cute. I think he must have been made in a lab. It's not. That is a cute little floppy-eared dog you got there, buddy. Yeah. Usually what I use would be something like this, Perry. That's what I've been using on my walking sticks anyway, lately. And it says it's but this one says it's an interior finish. So maybe I should get an indoor-outdoor kind of thing. Okay, Carl says we don't need to do the inside of it. Well, all the resin that's soaked into it, it really might not harm it. It won't be like you're dumping a lot of water into that thing in the first place. The dirt would soak most of it up. But all right, well, I'm going to hollow one out, at least one side of it, and see how it goes. I don't know exactly how long we've been on here. Well, almost an hour and a half. You guys might be getting sick of looking at this weird piece of wood. Yeah, that's a good point, Carl. I mean, unless you're really just dumping a bunch in there, I think it'll be all right. Like I said, I don't believe they require a whole awful lot of water to keep them alive. All right, so I'm gonna switch from that cut-saw burr to this Dremel cutter burr. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but you can see all the resin and junk that's stuck in there from the last time I was using it. I'm gonna try to brush it out before I start. All right, here we go. It's much softer on the inside. You see all that stuff that came out of there? You see how it's changing colors? It's darker around the edges than it is in the middle. This yellow stuff is what's really sticky. And it is like super duper fire starter. Stuff might as well be soaked in kerosene. But it's just all the it's all the pine resin in it. Well, Carl, I had the vacuum on the whole time. That's what this table is. But that's just how much came out of that thing. So you can see down in it how deep it got just that fast. I don't know if y'all can see. It doesn't take much when you get to that soft spot in there. Yeah, it was. But, you know, I think, you know, even if I didn't like drill or cut holes into the side and call it a succulent holder, it could just be, you know, like a vase, I guess, kind of deal. I don't know. I don't know much about interior designing or anything like that. But, I do like making these things. I just think they're really pretty. You can get some really cool, and it depends on how deep you dig into it. You can get rid of more or less of the colors that are in it. You can, yeah, obviously I haven't got right there, but the inside of it, where it's really started to rot, is almost I mean, it's so red, it's almost black. It's a real deep color. There's a little bit of it there, and on that, we'll probably end up taking that chip off before it's over with. I don't think it'll hang in there. But I think it'll be nice. I wish I could get the camera a little further away from it. But I think it'll make a nice little set. Yeah, it does kind of look like ram horns. I'd like to get a hold of a skull of some animal to try to carve on. I watch a guy on here. He hasn't done a whole lot lately, but it's called U.S. Skull Hunter is the name of his YouTube channel. And he carves animal skulls and things. And, I mean, he does some amazing stuff. Yeah, I heard it stinks too, Perry. I can only imagine. But, I don't know. I think I'm going to take a break for the rest of the day on this thing, man. It's slow going on the outside of them, but it's been a little over an hour now, I think. Well, it's been about an hour and a half. So I'll give somebody else the opportunity to jump on live if they want to. I know Bear will probably be going live before too long. I'll let my camera get kicked. Why didn't somebody tell me I was out of focus? Or I mean out of frame. Look, there's Grumpy. Appreciate the sticker, Grumpy. I got that and the one from DeLand just this week. Perry, I saw you just released a video. What video did you release? How to start whittling or wood carving with a knife. So y'all go check that out for sure. Carving Wizard just put that one out. Who else we got here? Aiden's still here. Carl's still here. Yeah, we got Carl's a nice dude. I met him on another channel. I believe, man, I think they call the show Live at 5, but I think it's Frank Scott is the name of the actual channel, Mr. Frank's channel. But they just have a good, you know, like a hangout kind of thing, real laid back, sitting around the kitchen table chatting. And everybody just kind of, you know, sits around, shoots the breeze. But that's where I met Carl at. I'm sure maybe you guys have found out already. I think he's in Africa. I want to say maybe Nambia, I think is where he's is at. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that gets talked over at Live at 5, doesn't it, Carl? Sometimes it's not always PG rated. It's a good time nonetheless. Well, it looks like Ray has to go. Have a good night, Ray. Thank you for being here, buddy. Nambia, that was right. Am I saying that correct? Is that how you pronounce that? Maybe not. We got 11 people here. I appreciate y'all all being here. John's here. See 10 list. All right. Well, I get out of y'all's ear. No, Namibia. Is that how you say that? Namibia. That's probably still wrong. Carl's probably laughing at me. He's like, you dumb American. That's all right. I'm a proud dumb American. All right. Tim List's got to run. Thanks for being here, buddy. All right. Carl said it is correct. Yeah, John, I will, this will just be part one, I guess. The live will be. And then I'll finish, you know, doing a normal video like I do with it. That last one was really long, man. It was almost 30 minutes long, the video for the lamp. And I can't imagine folks really sit through all that, just basically sanding of a pine knot. But I think when I do make this one, we'll probably do it in 2 parts, so the video is not quite as long. I mean, people don't have 30 minutes to just sit around all the time, watch video. And I know there's a lot of videos that we all put out, you know, throughout the community. So I know it's time consuming, so everybody can't watch everything. But I will definitely put a video, John, so you can check it out if you'd like. Oh, no problem, Carl. I enjoyed getting on here and doing this. And yep, we will probably see you over at Live at 5 later. But I hope y'all have a good Sunday, and I certainly appreciate it. And we'll see you later. If I can find the exit button. Good night.